We are on the record this afternoon in Commonwealth of Kentucky versus Ricky Kelly, 98 CR 2632. I'm going to ask counsel to enter their appearances, please, beginning with the Commonwealth.
Good afternoon, Your Honor. Alex Daythorne on behalf of the Commonwealth, and seated to my right is Detective Mike Halblide with Metro Narcotics.
All right, good afternoon.
Your Honor, I'm Frank Jewell. I represent Ricky Kelly, who is seated to my immediate left at counsel table.
All right, good afternoon. We are scheduled for a hearing on your motion this afternoon, Mr. Jewell. Sir, I don't mind you using those later, but I'm on the record in court right now, so if you need to work with them, if you would, please take them outside the courtroom. Thank you. All right, Mr. Jewell, if you'll address your motion, please.
Your Honor, our motion is to dismiss. The legal basis is Workman versus Commonwealth and progeny thereunder. The defendant contends that at the time of the stop and thereafter, the defendant was approached by the police who effected the stop and proposed that if he would help them arrest other people or furnish information leading to the arrest of other people, that this case, in fact, would go away or be dismissed. The defendant's contention is that he did so and, in fact, was still subsequently charged and indicted on the case. That's the factual basis of the motion. The legal basis of the enforcement would be Workman versus Commonwealth and the progeny. The state is bound by its word, and that once this offer was made to the defendant and the defendant acted to his detriment, i.e. furnished information or set up other people, that in fact he was entitled to specific performance by the state of their promise to make the case go away or be dismissed. So that would be our legal basis for the motion.
All right, Mr. Daythorne, response.
Your Honor, in essence, it's a Commonwealth's contention that there were attempts to strike this type of agreement with Mr. Kelly, and as a matter of fact, at some point in time, an agreement was reached as to what Mr. Kelly would have to do in order for these charges to be dismissed. But it is a Commonwealth's contention and has been that Mr. Kelly never performed his portion of the agreement and, in essence, never, quote-unquote, worked off his charges. And in order to advise the court, we can proffer testimony by Detective Halblide as to the events that transpired in the agreement and why we do it.
Well, given the nature of the motion, I think I will hear from him, and if I assume the questioning will be similar, but since it's your motion, Mr. Jewell, if you want to question Detective first, then that would certainly be appropriate given the fact that it is your motion. If you want to defer to Mr. Daythorne, I'm sure he'll put on the same evidence. If you'll just raise your right hand, officer, I'll just have you testify from there. Do you solemnly swear from the testimony you're about to give us the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
All right. And the question's obvious. The court will just do it. What, if any, was the nature of an agreement with Mr. Kelly? Can you take us back to a time frame and fill in the details?
It was on the particular day that we actually stopped him with the gun and the marijuana. He agreed to, basically I told him he had the option of getting this charge dismissed. He asked what he had to do, and I said he had to order up several kilos of cocaine. And at that time, I didn't mention any type of names. The agreement was several kilos of cocaine at that time.
Okay. And I'll let you go with that from there, Mr. Daythorne.
Okay, Detective Halblide, after this preliminary agreement was struck, was Mr. Kelly in fact taken to jail that day?
No, he was not.
Okay, and what was the agreement as to how you would contact one another?
We exchanged numbers. I can't remember if he had a cell phone pager at the time. We did exchange numbers in order for him to contact me.
Okay, and this was in order to procure these multiple kilos?
Yes.
Okay, after some time had passed, several days had passed, had you been successful in initiating contact, and if so, had you been successful in obtaining these multiple kilos?
No, I had not been able to contact him, and therefore we had not received any kilos or any investigation.
Okay, so based on the fact that he didn't do what he was supposed to do, did you in fact procure an arrest warrant for the arrest of Mr. Kelly?
Yes, I did.
And was that dated several days later?
Yes, it was.
Okay, and were you in fact the individual who located Mr. Kelly on the arrest warrant?
Yes.
Once again, did you engage Mr. Kelly in conversations as it relates to him potentially working off his charges?
Yes, I did.
And once again, was it for the amount of multiple kilos?
Yes.
Okay. At this point, had you also discussed good faith purchases that Mr. Kelly would now have to make.
Yes.
And why? What was good faith purchase, number one, and why was this all of a sudden a part of the sum?
At this time, my supervisor really didn't want me working with Mr. Kelly because of his past record and just because of information we received on the streets, and he didn't think that Mr. Kelly would come through with the deal. So I talked to Mr. Kelly, and I said, in order, we need to do some good faith deals, because basically I told him, you're going to jail regardless today. I've got the arrest warrant. You are going to jail whether you do anything or not. And I said, but if you want to work on the kilo transactions, once you get out of jail, we have to have some good faith deals that particular night. So I asked my sergeant, I said, if he makes some arrests tonight, orders up some cocaine, marijuana, whatever the case might be, and does some deals tonight, if he does good faith, can we work with him after he gets out of jail on this charge? He said, yes, he didn't have a problem with that.
Was that also in response to the fact that Mr. Kelly had failed to come through already in the original agreement? Okay, so after you secured Mr. Kelly that night, did you directly process him in the jail, or did you attempt to do these good faith purchases?
We attempted to do the good faith purchases.
Okay, and what good faith purchases were conducted with Mr. Kelly?
We did one investigation that night that resulted in approximately 3 ounces of cocaine, and we did another transaction that night which resulted in several pounds of marijuana and a handgun.
Okay, and just for the court's record, I mean, I know the court's aware of this, how many ounces of cocaine are in 1 kilo?
36.
And you got 3?
Yes.
Okay. Now, you did 2 pounds of marijuana and the 3 ounce good faith purchases, and it's your testimony to the court that Mr. Kelly understood that these were only good faith purchases.
Yes.
Did you attempt to do more purchases that evening?
We were going to, but our supervisor had a sick dog and he was going out of town in the morning, so the dog got a toy stuck in his mouth, so he had to rush home and take the emergency vet in order to get the toy out.
So at that point, your supervisor had to leave the scene.
Yes.
And was Mr. Kelly then booked into the jail?
Yes, he was.
And what agreement did you leave Mr. Kelly with at this point? Did you advise him that the good faith purchases have been met?
Yes.
Okay, so he had complied with that condition.
Yes, he had.
Okay, and now what was the next step?
I said, you make sure you have my number right. He said, yes. I said, call me as soon as you get out of jail, and we'll continue working on this to try and dismiss his charge. And
that was in pursuit of the multiple kilos?
Yes.
Okay. Now, when Mr. Kelly is released from jail, does he contact you?
Not at the time. Another detective saw that he was released out of jail that day.